Evening, everybody. We are going to move back to 4, adjourn executive session. 4.1 adjournment. I just need a motion to adjourn the executive session.
I will motion to adjourn the executive session.
And I will second.
So Azure was made by Mrs. Ewing and a second made by Clerk Toby. And if you could run us through a voice vote, please.
President Rooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewing,
Yes.
Ms. Bowles,
Yes.
Mr. Toby.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 to adjourn the meeting at 6:02 p.m. We're just going to take a 5-minute intermission and then we will begin our regular scheduled board meeting. Good evening, everybody. We're going to call the Peoria Unified Governing Board meeting to order on 12-10-2025 at 6:09 p.m. We do have one board member absent. Mrs. Profit will not be able to join us this evening. So we're going to move now on to 2, convene public hearing. 2.1, convene public hearing pursuant to ARS 15-905 E3 and ARS 15-905Q for review of revision number 1 to the expenditure budget, including maintenance and operations, district additional assistance, and classroom site fund budgets for fiscal year 2025-2026. So I just need a motion to convene that public hearing.
I motion to convene the public hearing.
I will second. So we have a motion made by Clerk Toby and a second made by myself, Azure. And if you could run us through a voice vote, please.
Mr. Toby,
Yes.
Ms. Bowles,
Yes.
President Rooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 yeas. Ms. Rodriguez, welcome.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Governing Board. Madam President, Clerk Toby, members of the board, our community here with us this evening, Dr. Summers and Cabinet. So we annually review our budget. We adopted at the beginning of the year. I always like to do a mid-year check-in, how we're doing with our budget, taking a look at a few of the key components that impact our budget. So that's what we will be covering this evening and sharing with our community. Maybe. Thank you. So just to kind of review the process, this statute gives us the authority to revise the budget by December 15th. So that's kind of our mid-year check-in. And then once later on in the agenda, we'll be asking you to approve this budget, and then we will submit it to the Department of Education for their records. So here's some key factors of our budget. We know the driving force for our budget is our ADM. So that's the average daily membership of our students that are enrolled in our schools. So this is a 40th day number. We won't hit 100th day till the end of January. So at this checkpoint in the year, you can see from the time we adopted to now the time that we are revising, we did slightly go up. But I do want to make note that we are still down from last year. The other thing that changed when we adopted the budget, the state legislature had not, when we proposed it, then adopted it, they had not approved their final budget. So there's a support base level of how much we get paid for each student, and that's that $5,113 is what it went up to this year. And you can see last year it was $5,013. That's what we adopted on because we hadn't got the final approval from the state yet. So those are the two factors that are impacting the changes in the budget that you're going to see this evening. So this is just big picture of all of the components that go into our M&O budget calculation. So there's that support base level, which is the ADM times the base level amount that we just saw. And so you can see that slight increase from the time we adopted to now, because one thing, both of those factors went up, so that's good. The transportation revenue control limit, that's how much we get funded for transporting our students. There's also the override funds, which those were slightly adjusted with the changes in the average daily membership. And then our balance forward. So our budget balance forward in July and June, when we propose and we adopt, we are estimating what the total expenditures will be for the prior year, but we haven't quite closed our books out because we go through the end of September to do all of our final closeout with our expenditures. So from that time to now, or to when we closed out our expenditures, the end of September, which you all approved the annual financial report in November, that's what we ended up being able to carry forward from last year into this year. Then there was a few additional one-time funding things that the state approved in the budget that they approved, and it was a one-time funding for a state aid supplement, the $2.3 million. One-time free reduced weight. They gave us a little bit more for free reduced lunch students. And then we transfer money into our energy water savings funds, and that is to pay back a lease that we took out to do energy savings, things like light, different types of, more efficient lighting and energy savings things that we did for the reason for that is to transfer it over to that fund so we can pay those leases, but we're saving that money in our utility bills. So here's what you're going to see projected M&O on the forms that you're going to approve this evening. It went up from the 304 to 309 million. So here's that look. This is a simpler look. Maintenance and operations, and just a footnote there, although this is an increase from the time we adopted to now when we're revising, it does, however, if you look back at 2025, that budget, this budget is $4.6 million less because of the decline in our enrollment. And remember, we get funded for students who come this year. So not like used to be in way back when, we got funded on students from prior year. This is this year's funding. So we have to estimate how many students we think are coming. Smyers did a great job. She was really close, right? But unfortunately, it was a loss of students. The other two funds that are budget controlled, which means the state controls the budget capacity that we have, is the district additional assistance, which we refer to a lot of times, and you'll see the label in your budget called unrestricted capital. Unrestricted capital is where we buy all of our stuff, right? Our curriculum, our textbooks, our vehicles, our technology. That's where we buy all that from. So you can see there's a difference, a little bit of an increase again there. So $5 million increase in M&O from the time we adopted, $2.9 million increase from the time we adopted to now we're revising. And then classroom site fund, and that's where we fund our performance pay for our teachers, additional compensation for our teachers. We also fund our support services from there as well, which meaning our nurses and our therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, those types of programs can be funded out of that classroom site fund, and that went up 407. So along with, we're going to revise the budget because we had some additional factors where we can increase it. I also like to do a mid-year check of where are we at with how we're spending our money? Are we staying within our budget limits? What are we looking like moving forward into next year? Because we're planning that now with all of the conversations that we have to have. So when you look at this, you're looking at the budget, which is the budget that I'm going to ask you later on in the meeting to approve. The year-to-date, so that's how much we've spent year-to-date in the M&O Capital and Classroom Site Fund. Then encumbrance means we have this committed. So when you see encumbrance of $173 million in the M&O, a lot of that is the salaries, right? Those are salaries, people that we have to set that money aside to pay them for the end of the year. It also could be our utility cost, our costs for maintaining and cleaning our buildings. Those are the types of things that you're going to see in that encumbrance. And then we're projecting what our carry forward would be $22 million. Now, this is a mid-year check, just to make sure that everybody understands these numbers will fluctuate and change. Okay, this is just as good as what we have in our system right now, but an emergency might come up. We might need to replace something. We might need to fix something in an emergency. So that encumbrance number will probably go up and down as we go through the rest of the year. When we come back in May and ask you to approve the final revision, because we'll have our solid ADM numbers and more solid than they are right now, because those fluctuate during the year as well, we'll probably have a better idea of what that carry forward will look like, okay? Capital the same way, same process, year to date, what we're encumbering, and a lot of that big encumbrance is the construction that we're doing at Liberty High School right now, that you approved that GMP last board meeting. And then classroom site fund, again, there's carry forward in that. We know that. We've had conversations about how maybe we can utilize those funds in some different ways. So we're currently having those conversations about how that carry forward can be used. So just to recap what our approval timelines are, you approve the proposed budget in June, the adopted budget in July. We're asking you to approve the December revised budget tonight, later on the agenda, and then we'll be coming back in May for the final revision. Is there any questions?
Before we get into questions, we do have the opportunity, if anybody wants to give public comment on this item, you do not have to fill out a public comment card when we're hearing a public hearing on our budget revision. So if there's anybody that would like to say anything or ask questions, now is that time. So you will have 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Curtis Elward, and we're talking about the budget revisions and future budget issues and cuts and all those kinds of things. I brought with me tonight many of my educational heroes, absolute legends that have devoted their entire lives and career to Peoria Unified School District. And so as we are looking at things like revising budgets, potential cuts, I'd like to at least spend a few moments telling you why these people are at the top of my list. Many of these people came to the Peoria Unified School District in the 90s. We were a leading district. We were the fastest growing, highest paying district in the West Valley. We were getting sudden growth funds from the state every year. We were able to have the most competitive, best salaries anywhere, top 3 in the state. We had career ladder performance pay, which was provided by the state. We were only one of 3 or 4 districts in the West Valley that had that. So these people signed on, and then those funding sources started to evaporate. Then the freezes to their salaries came. Some of them have gone through 5, 6, 7, almost 8 salary freezes throughout the duration of their admirable service. Some of them 25 years, 30 years, 35 years. So as we look forward at these difficult things like our decreasing student population and funds, they've been through the hard times. Career ladders evaporated. Some of these families lost $12,000 in a single year back when salaries were $45,000 because both of them were teaching and both of them were career ladder teachers. And they stuck with this district. They have been here through thick and thin. They have been here all the way through. They're at the top of my list because many of them have taught my own kids. They've coached them, they've transported them. They've done it from the lunchroom to the boardroom, to the bus barn, to the classroom, everywhere in between. They're at the top of my list because they're givers, they're sacrificing. They've paid rent for their students. They've gone down to the utilities office and advocated to get the power turned back on. I've watched them fix cars, give cars. They've stood beside me with hammers and saws and paintbrushes, remodeling homes for students in our community so they have a safe place at night. They're absolutely at the top of my list. But recently this week, they made the top to somebody else's list. There was a powwow about where cuts were going to come from, some most likely places. And this group of heroes, the absolute DNA of Peoria Unified School District, was at the top of the list for the cuts, and that disturbs me. That concerns me. I hope that as we move forward, that you will cultivate the gratitude, respect, and thankfulness that I have for these people and their service. And as we look at cuts, we know we're a resource, but I appreciate you considering doing the right thing, not the easy thing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Does anybody else would like the opportunity to speak?
Hi.
My name is Julie Merrifield Nelson. I started teaching in the Peoria Unified School District in 1991 as a 23-year-old fresh out of college teacher who was excited for the journey ahead. I signed a contract, which to me was a promise that I would stand by our district. At this time, the district promised me a medical insurance stipend upon my retirement if I stayed in the Peoria Unified School District for my 30-year career. Little did I know what was in store for me. When the district froze my salary several times, I stayed, honoring my promise. I taught summer school and delivered phone books to make ends meet and to try to bridge the financial strain that my family felt. I could have moved districts for more money and signing bonuses and all the shiny things that they were offering. But I stayed, knowing that I had to complete all of my 30 years in PUSD in order for the district to honor the promise of my health insurance stipend. I had a plan after all, and I had a promise to keep. When I was demoted from step 13 to step 10, which came with a pay cut, again, I stayed. I wrote curriculum to once again bridge the gap in my financial situation. When career ladder was cut and I took an $8,000 pay cut, again, I stayed. A promise is a promise after all. I tutored students after school in a Polynesian Village clubhouse. I painted my sister's entire exterior of her house in the middle of summer, and I did wildfire prevention surveys for an insurance company. In a household where living paycheck to paycheck has severe consequences, and Ramen Noodle August was a real thing in our house, I had to make sacrifices. In 2021, after COVID, when I was doing the job of 2 teachers, teaching 40 sixth grade students online and 50 in person, I knew it was time for me to collect on the district's promise of honoring their part of my medical insurance reimbursement. I would be retiring from my 30-year promise. In late 2022, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and in 2023, I had 2 surgeries and radiation. I have 2.5 years to go with my oncologist, and you are threatening my ability to afford health insurance. I gave you my entire career, and with this retirement benefit being threatened, you are giving me broken promises. It is time for you to keep your promise to me, just as I kept my promise to you. Thank you.
At this time, is there anybody else that would like to speak on the public hearing? Okay. Ms. Rodriguez, welcome back up. Mrs. Ewing, do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Ms. Rooks, President Rooks. I wanted to ask you about that I think it's 933 students that I'm sure, I'm going to go back to which page that's on. I think it was 933
Page 4.
students. Yes, page 5. Just, it's notated, the 933 students. So I just want to understand, is that from the beginning of the year until now, or just a time frame on that?
So thank you, President Rooks, Member Ewing. So the 933 is from where we ended last year in our enrollment and what we were funded on last year to where we are at our 40th day this year. So that a lot of those, and I thank you for the question. We are going back and researching, and a lot of the research and what we want to do moving forward and how we be proactive about how we keep students from leaving our district is wanting to know why they've left our district. So we're doing that research. We have a list of the reasons why, and there's multiple things that are happening, right? We know that birth rate, so we didn't have as many kindergarteners come into the district as we had seniors graduate. That's a factor. The number of families that are choosing to homeschool their children, that is a factor. The list that I was looking at today, based on some of the research, people are moving out of state. That's a factor. People are not selling their homes because they can't afford to move anyplace else, but their children have already gone through our system, That's a factor. And then, of course, we know that, there are new charter schools that are opening up, particularly in our northern boundary of the district. And then also empowerment scholarships where families are making choices to enroll their students in private schools. So there's a myriad of factors that are causing that to happen. And so as we go through the process of understanding why and what are some of the services that we can offer to accommodate our families that are making choices and to choose us.
Okay, so of that 933, we would not make the assumption that those are 933 students that we lost to another school. It's going to be lots of different reasons based upon the information you just shared.
Yes,
Correct.
that is correct. Michelle.
Okay. So I do want to start off with, first of all, I really appreciate you providing a in-depth report that, and also describing and going through it with a fine-tooth comb and making sure that our community can fully understand where we are, where shifts have happened, because as we go forward, this is going to be a process where we're going to have to be, it's going to be very important that we be transparent on where we are, what we can do and what we can't do, and kind of just the scenario we're in. And so hopefully we'll be able to have as much as possible a collaborative process in making very, very difficult, heavy decisions. So I appreciate you bringing this forward and keeping us informed and keeping the community informed. Thank you.
Mrs. Bowles, do you have any questions or comments?
I do. Not any questions regarding the presentation particularly, but I want to address something that I don't know if people are seeing this, not seeing this. So I'm going to use Scottsdale as an example because they were on the news last night. Whether they got a bond or override or whatever the case may be, and as you know, we did not. They're still closing schools. I don't think most of the constituents understand that our taxes are still being taken out from prior years, right? If we were to have an M&O passed, we would have additional monies taken out, but you addressed the budget with children in seats, and that's how we get funded, right? And so I'm very excited to hear that we're looking at the reasons why we don't have the number of students that, obviously people are not having babies. There's not even enough children to fill some of these classrooms. But aside from the override and, all of that, school districts that got bonds and overrides passed, they're still shutting schools down. I think I saw like 6. I think they're shutting one school down mid-year in Scottsdale, and they're going to shut down 6 to 7 more. So to understand that on layman's terms for me, and I want that to be very clear to the constituents, those families still opted to pay more, even though we didn't have enough children in the schools for a gamut of reasons. But still, they're going to have to pay that and maybe have to take their child to another school because they're shutting them down. And so I say all that to say this, just to understand that if that even, even wanted to know. We have a cabinet that I am confident, and a board that I'm confident that we can work together and we can think outside the box. I also know that another school district, I'm going to say it was Mesa, hopefully I'm correct in that, are renting some of their schools out to homeschool kids. We need to start thinking outside the box. Without addressing the questions in the podium directly, one of the people that was in the podium I worked with and was my children's teacher. And I was one of those people that didn't get a raise, had a frozen salary for 6-7 years. And we did live on ramen noodles, right? So that's a real thing. And I hear that, we take that very, very seriously. So anyway, I just want to say thank you for this presentation, but the only thing I would ask is that I would like them more often. The only way I really know how to explain that is on my own budget. I can't look at that twice a year and expect to hit every mark. We have to, I think, a couple of things, helping people understand how the money is spent, which is a big deal. Holding on to money when we have buildings falling apart and there's not an understanding of why. Well, sometimes we have emergencies, as you brought up. But not to get in the weeds with it, just to, hey, this is where we're at, this is where we're going. And I think that's a good, tight budget, and I think we need to do these more often than twice a year. So that was the only thing I wanted to say about the budget. Thanks.
Clerk Toby, do you have any questions or comments?
Again, thank you for the presentation. Page 6, where you go to year-to-date update on the expenditures. Could we just share with our community, those that are listening to this hearing, our fiscal year obviously aligns with July 1st with the state, but that year-to-date, is that from January to now, or is that from our fiscal year start till now, or is it by school year?
Thank you, President Ricks. Clerk Toby, so thank you for that clarification. Just the presentation that I'm sharing with you this year to date is our fiscal year to date. So this is from July 1st until now.
Thank you. And then, do you happen to know I know this is our projected carryover as far as for this fiscal year, but is there an ending balance or a cumulative amount that we can share with the community in these accounts or M&O capital or classroom site funds?
President Ricks. Clerk Toby, so when you say an accumulative amount, are you talking about a cash fund balance? Like how much cash is in the bank on these accounts? Because these accounts are a budgetary account, which means the cash is collected as, of course, property taxes are collected. That's how and the state gives us a monthly state aid payment. So these balances are accumulated over, from a budget perspective, that's how we operate with these three accounts. Because cash in the bank, yes, you have to have cash to pay the bills, but we're restricted to not overspending the budget, as opposed to if we had cash in the bank, that might be more than the budget just because of a cash accumulation, or cash less than the budget because of the way the payments are coming through. So I guess I need clarification on that question.
Yeah, no, I totally hear what you're saying. I think that when we say that budgeted, our M&O, for example, is 309 million, year-to-date is 113 with encumbrances of 173. That projected carryover number, are we just now looking at fiscal year, or is this a run-on balance, for example? Does that make more sense?
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. So that 309, as you saw, part of that, if you go back to page 4, where I describe the adopted versus the revised expenditure budget, there is $23,812,953 in budget capacity that we carried forward into this year. So it's built upon. So it's always built into the whatever, the revised budget tonight, that's what you're going to see. So that carry forward is an accumulation. It is included in the 309 million.
Great, thank you.
I guess my ask is, when we are looking at the budget, and we're going to be discussing this in January 8th for our board retreat, is if we can look at what is the least thing that's going to affect the site level of each school. And having those conversations on January 8th would be really great, and then maybe sending out Ms. Airy, sending that notification out, just because the message getting out. Like I want to start thinking outside the box, and I've talked with you, Dr. Summers, of what are things can we look at that's not going to affect the school and the staff and the students the most. So we've talked to you, Ms. Rodriguez. I know you're working really hard, so I appreciate it. That's just my I guess, request for the budget. And then also, with looking at, when you're looking at reasons why, look at reasons of how can we get them to come back. I think that's the bigger question too, is what was it, how can we get them back, whether it's trust was broken or schedules or whatever it may be. Because I think that that's an important thing as well. And when we're talking about, you mentioned ESAs, I don't think it's only used for private schools. My understanding is it can be used for anything. So I looked at it as, why are they going that route? And I want to be competitive to bring them back. So that's the way that I'm kind of viewing it. So if we can look and see of what is the reason why, but then also how do we get them back type of thing. So that was just my little quick comment.
Yes, President Rooks, and all of those things that you have shared are things that we are having conversations around. And that information, we look forward to sharing that information to you at the retreat.
Okay. And then also with the retreat, making sure that that message goes out to our parents, our community, and our staff. So then that way that there's communication of what we're trying to brainstorm so that it doesn't affect the school level as much as possible.
Yes.
Okay. Any other further questions or comments? All right. With that, I just need moving on to 3, adjourn public hearing. 3.1, adjourn a public hearing. I just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
So we have a motion made by Mrs. Bowles and a second made by Clerk Toby. And Azure, if you could run us through a voice vote, please.
Mrs. Ewing,
Yes.
Ms. Bowles,
Yes.
President Rooks,
Yes.
Mr. Toby.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 yeas. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Moving on to 4 opening exercises, 4.1, moment of silence, 4.2, Pledge of Allegiance, and the preamble of independence. And Ms. Bowles, if you could lead us, but also if everybody could keep in your thoughts and prayers, we did lose an employee this weekend. If you could please keep him and his family in thoughts and prayers. Mr. Drew, is it Shell? I don't mess that up. So if we could just please keep that in remembrance of him.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We hold these truths to be created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Moving on now to 5, address agenda. 5.1, consider approval of or recommend changes to the agenda. Board members, do you have any changes you'd like to recommend?
I don't.
Okay, so I just need a motion on the floor for the agenda.
A motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
So a motion made by Clerk Toby and a second made by Mrs. Bowles. Azure, and if you could run us through a voice vote, please.
Ms. Bowles,
Yes.
President Rooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewing,
Yes.
Mr. Toby.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 yeas. Moving on now to 6, recognitions. 6.1, Mrs. Airy, welcome.
Good evening, President Ruggs, members of the board, Dr. Summers, and guests that are here this evening. Tonight, we are recognizing the Imprints of Honor Club at Sunrise Mountain High School. This club provides students with a unique opportunity to engage in meaningful dialogue with veterans in our community, preserving their stories for future generations. Under the leadership of Mr. DJ Salch, who is a Sunrise Mountain High School English teacher and former United States Marine, students conduct interviews with veterans, document their experience, and publish biographies in an anthology titled Since You Asked. Each anthology is submitted to the United States Library of Congress, officially making our students published authors. This program not only honors the service of our veterans, but also equips students with essential skills in communication, writing, journalism, and editing. It fosters intergenerational connections, and it instills a deep sense of respect for those who have served our nation. Students have had the privilege of meeting extraordinary individuals, including a Marine who flew President Eisenhower on Marine One and later served as crew chief for Presidents Kennedy and Johnson. And the stories don't stop there. You'll recall that you may have received this copy of this magazine, Unified Magazine, in your mailbox over the fall, and it highlighted this particular club. It also included one of those full published stories, and yes, we had to get special permissions from the United States Library of Congress to republish the work in this magazine. So it really is an incredible opportunity for our students. Tonight, we are so thrilled to highlight the students that give tirelessly through this club, who are learning so many things and having really unique experiences that only our schools can provide. We are so grateful to Sunrise Mountain for the work that is taking place through this club, but most importantly, to the teacher that is leading it. I'd like to begin with a very big recognition, and if you could join me in a round of applause for Mr. DJ Salch for his leadership. And of course, also for his service. Thank you for all that you do to lead this club and to lead these students. We are also so pleased to have our principal from Sunrise Mountain High School who supports this club, Mr. Vance Sedka, here with us tonight. Thank you for being here. And I want to make sure we give a very, very big round of applause to the students who are working tirelessly, writing feverishly, conducting all of those different interviews with that wonderful finished product through the Imprints of Honor Club. So students that participate in Imprints of Honor, would you stand so we can recognize you? Thank you. And at this time, I will invite the president of the Imprints of Honor Club, Isabella Arvidsson, up to the podium. And President Rooks, I will turn it over to you for any questions or comments from the governing board.
Thank you, Ms. Sari. Welcome, President Isabella. Mrs. Ewing, do you have any questions or comments?
I do, thank you. First of all, I want to say that I see Mr. Clerk Toby and Janelle, they all have the pins out, the pin of excellent to give, and I was just getting ready to pull one out too. So I guess it's, I'll let one of you give it out to anyway. This club is amazing. I'm so excited about this. I'm sure you guys know, but some folks in our community don't always know this. We have so many veterans in our Peoria Unified community. So it's so appropriate that Peoria Unified has this club, and I'm so excited that you guys have the opportunity to hear all of the great stories that you can carry on and continue to tell the stories onto other individuals. So that's really important. And then I hopefully as part of your club that you guys do get an opportunity to visit Country Meadows. That is one of our Purple Star Ribbon schools, where it's specifically set up to support kids of military families. So just to put all of that together, Country Meadows is our Purple Star Ribbon school. Anyway, I would love to, Miss Ari, if I could request at any time there is an article that is sent over, I'd love to have the board have a copy of that so we have an opportunity to see the great stories that they're hearing. Wow. This club is amazing. So congratulations, and thank you so much for bringing this forward. I know it always takes staff in our community to bring it forward as well. And any time that you guys are going to be doing something in your club that you'd like to have the board come and be audience to whatever you're doing, please reach out to our secretary, Azure, over there, Azure, and she can invite us because I'd love to come and see what you guys are doing. So thank you and congratulations.
Mrs. Bowles, do you have any questions or comments?
I have a lot of comments, but I won't say all of them. I'm so excited to hear about this group. I did not know, I spoke to one of you before the meeting. Honoring veterans should be in the forefront, really, for most of us. I'm just excited to see that the next generation is learning how to do that, because it's important. It's super important. And the stories that you'll have, even to share with your own children, are going to be amazing, whether they're published or not. I had a job that I was able to sit down and talk to missionaries and to veterans, and it was, yeah, I still tell some of those stories. But thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do. I think all of your stories probably should be published. I also know that Club America, some of you belong to that, and there are resources that will help you with what you're doing already. If you have any questions about that, I know that you already have a contact on your campus and within Turning Point, but I'd be more than happy to help, get those free kits to you guys or whatever that takes to get resources to you. And then I'm thinking some other clubs that actually send you to Washington. So, President, is it Isabella? I'll get your information if you're still here, or I'll find out, because I'd like to connect you with some people who actually do fly students to DC that do similar things that you're doing. So and probably you're already doing that. I don't know. That's all I have to say, but I am going to give out my first pin to, there are two, so do you want to go at the same time?
You can go ahead.
To Mr. DJ, because I can't pronounce your last name.
I believe it's DJ Salch. Am I correct? Close. Salch. Okay. Clerk Toby, do you have any questions or comments?
Mr. Slosh, thank you for bringing this program to our district. How long has this program been within the district? Like, what year did we start with this?
This is year 3.
This is very impressive, this program and what you guys have done. Nobody necessarily wants to hear what I say about this, but I do want to hear from you, and I want to understand how has Imprints of Honor impacted you or anybody else that's with you today? How has it impacted you guys thus far, other than being published?
I mean, I think I would say that it's impacted all of us so positively. I know me personally, hearing these veteran stories, honoring their service, their willingness to give up the ultimate sacrifice of their life to our country to defend our freedoms, it's been incredible to hear their stories and to hear their devotion and love for our country.
Wow, thank you. Again, what you guys are doing under the leadership of your instructor is it's phenomenal. So very proud of every one of you for doing what you do, the hard work that you guys are doing. And please, I would love to come and see what you guys do. Thank you.
Yes, I loved just hearing that just now because I could hear how excited you were to hear about it, and that's just amazing. I'm in awe of this program and what you've done with helping them with the students and connecting them, and it's just amazing to see. So congratulations and thank you for everything that you're doing with our veterans and just continuing their legacy of what they have done for our country. It's amazing to hear. And I'm also going to turn to Clerk Toby. I wanted to bestow the Shaping Tomorrow, Leading with Excellence Peoria Unified pins to all 8 of you. So if I could have 7 more so that we can all come down, because each of you deserve this pin because you are being leaders and you're leading with excellence right now.
President Rooks, as you're walking back to your seats, if we could just maybe give one more big round of applause to Mr. Salch and the students. Thank you. And I may just conclude, President Rooks, with after our magazine was sent and it shared the story of this club, we had countless veterans reach out saying they had a story to share. And so we have been connecting them with Mr. Salch and with the students. And certainly I believe Sunrise Mountain has received some calls as well. And so the invitation is open to any veterans that may be watching, either in the room or streaming and watching the meeting this evening. If you would like to be connected with this club, we would love to be able to tell your story. Thank you, President Rooks.
Thank you, Ms. Airy. All right, with that, we are going to move on to 7, opening call to the public. 7.1, request to address the governing board regarding matters not included on the agenda. So I don't know if anybody wants to exit at this point, or, okay, we can wait a few minutes. All right, so you will have 3 minutes for your public comment. First one is from Charmel Bolster.
Good evening, President Rooks, Board, Cabinet, Dr. Summers, everyone that's here. I find what I want to say very difficult to say.
Ms. Bolster, if you could, Azure, if you can pause our time. I just don't think your mic is on, so I don't know, or if you can get a little bit closer. Okay.
Okay.
All right, continue, sorry.
But I just want to say that what I wanted to talk about was some of the actions that I have seen the board do throughout this year that I hope will be improved upon. I guess I was disappointed at the last meeting when the first three of you on the dais did not want to talk about the override. That was very disappointing. I don't know why you didn't want to. It's not, Mrs. Bowles, it's not just being a family gathering in a living room or a dining room with having to go over your budget. This is having to look at $11 million for the next 3 years being cut. You've already heard some of the stories and some of the people out here. The fact that the three of you took it so lightly was very discouraging to me. I think, Mrs. Rooks, one of the comments that you made at the last meeting was also disturbing to me, because when you went to that LD 28 meeting, you made it sound as though you were the one that persuaded LD 28 to support the override. I beg to differ with that. The people that did that were the people who work in LD 28. Corky Haynes, Teddy Todd, Amy Malloy, Becky Proudfit. I think you misled the public there. The other thing, and you'll probably take exception to this, and that's good too, speaking at a few meetings is nothing compared to getting out and walking the neighborhoods or working at a telephone bank. The other thing, Mrs. Rooks, that disappointed me greatly was you used that meeting. Not only, you did talk a little bit about the override, but you immediately turned it into your big announcement of running for school board and Arizona Congress, House of Representatives. That was really, I think, totally out of line. It took the spotlight off of the override, which you all were gathered there for, and turned it on you. But that's all said and done. So I just want to caution the board about being transparent, being honest, who's really doing the work, being respectful to each other, how I've watched several of you, especially attack Mrs. Ewing. I remember in the meeting and my time is up. I knew that was going to happen. Sorry, but you get the message. Thank you.
Next public comment comes from Corey Sharma.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to express serious concern regarding Raymond S. Kellis High School's lack of responsiveness in addressing incidents of bullying, including cyberbullying. My son experienced serious cyberbullying and bullying at the school on 11/19/25, which resulted in him missing the 20th and 21st. This issue significantly compromised the safety, respect, and well-being of my son within the school community. It was brought to my attention at 8:30 a.m. I then went to the school at 9 a.m. and had my son make a report with the school social worker, and she said it would be addressed by her or the administrative staff. The assistant principal stated to another parent who had called in about the same issue, he did not know this was going on, and it had already been at least 3 hours after I spoke with the school social worker. As the situation escalated, I called the non-emergency police, and they said because this happened at school, it must go through the school resource officer. During my conversation with him, he stated that he had not seen the posts, which I told him I had screenshots of, and that no action could be taken because the behavior/bullying did not occur on school grounds. I told him, how did he know that? It happened this morning. He then asked what I wanted out of making a report. I said I want kids to know that they cannot mess with my son and nothing happens. He then asked to see the post and said that he would open a ticket/report. The fact I had to fight so hard for him to do anything about this is deeply concerning. Minimizing any type of bullying not only affects those targeted, but also undermines the integrity and well-being of the entire community, along with a profound impact on students' mental health and sense of security. Additionally, I was made aware of a secret group chat that among members of the football team in which discussions of serious bodily harm toward my son have taken place, which I did let the assistant principal know, and he was able to confirm that what I told him was in the chat. I asked if I could see the chat. He said because it was not posted on social media, I was not allowed to see it. I told him that I don't care who said what, just I wanted to see what they were saying about my son. He stated again, since it was not public, I could not see what was said. This is not only a matter of bullying, but a potential threat to student safety that requires immediate investigation and intervention. He said that he is having a meeting with the athletic director, coach, and himself that Friday, 11/21, and I have never got a follow-up of any kind. Bullying in any form, whether in person or online, requires a proactive and comprehensive approach. Failure to address these matters not only reflects poorly on the school's commitment to student welfare, but also risks further harm to those affected. I urge the administration to review current policies and implement measures that ensure bullying, cyberbullying, and any threats of violence are addressed promptly and effectively, regardless of where the behavior originates.
I apologize, but the time is up, but we can't respond as governing board, but I would like Dr. Summers to follow up with you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment comes from Leah Glenn.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Good evening. Thank you, everyone. I'm here to advocate for nursing. Yay. Thank you. So as students' health needs grow more complex, the absence of a school nurse affects far more than medical care. It influences daily school operations, academic outcomes, and community well-being. Without a trained nurse, students lose timely access to appropriate health assessments, chronic disease management, and preventative services, increasing safety risks and allowing treatable conditions to go unnoticed. Schools without full-time nursing support experience higher absenteeism, more early dismissals, and increased reliance on emergency services, all of which disrupt learning. Teachers and staff often shoulder health duties that are not trained for, Teachers and staff often shoulder health duties they are not trained for. This raises stress, diverting instructional time, and heightening liability risks. The lack of a licensed healthcare professional places Schools in a vulnerable legal position as unlicensed personnel performing medical tasks increase the likelihood of errors, inadequate documentation, and noncompliance with legally mandated care plans or federal protections such as Section 504 and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. In an emergency situation, delayed or improper responses can expose districts to claims of negligence or failure to provide required accommodations. The lack of professional nursing disproportionately harms students with disabilities, chronic conditions, and limited access to health care, widening existing inequities. Overall, the absence of school nursing services undermines student safety, academic success, and equitable access to health support. Ensuring every school has a qualified nurse is a foundational component of an effective and resilient educational system. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Next public comment comes from Taylor Doyle.
Good evening. My name is Taylor Doyle. I have been a licensed vocational nurse or practical nurse for 10 years. I'm proud to serve the Peoria elementary community as a school nurse. I also have 2 children who are students in our district. I'm here to advocate for every student in the district, as each student benefits from having a school nurse on their campus. Please enjoy a few true stories from nurses in the health offices of the Peoria Unified School District, one of which is my own. As a school nurse, my goal is to ensure that all students and staff can participate in the learning experience safely. While I am on campus focusing mainly on the students, I also offer my help to staff. One afternoon, a teacher came to my office complaining of a blackout migraine and numbness to the right arm and face. I welcomed her into my office and immediately began to assess her. I took her blood pressure, I checked her grip strength, checked her symptoms and history. As I assessed, I began writing my findings. I learned that this teacher had a recent history of high blood pressure as well as migraines, which can put her at higher risk for stroke. Although she didn't show symptoms of a stroke, her symptoms were suspicious for TIA, which is a mini stroke. I called and spoke to her husband, who agreed to pick the staff member up and take her to the hospital. I sent him with all of my notes and assessment information I had collected. When I next saw the teacher, she thanked me for the care and assessment I had performed on her. She told me that the hospital staff told her that they were able to treat her more quickly and efficiently due to my assessment and notes. Nurses are an important part of keeping the learning experience safe and ensuring all people on campus are healthy enough to participate. Another nurse writes, I had a student come in complaining of sharp abdominal pain around his umbilicus, no fever, no vomiting. I decided to educate the parents anyway on symptoms of appendicitis. The parent asked me what appendicitis was and when she should be concerned. I gave her the signs and symptoms and when to seek care. The next day, I received a doctor's note stating that the student was scheduled for an appendectomy. Another nurse writes, my school has 5 diabetics, one of which the student was newly diagnosed over the summer. Mom was very worried about students returning to school, not yet having an Omnipod or a Dexcom, which are very important for diabetics to have. I was there to collaborate with Mom on caring for the student, and we became close with close contact with Mom and communicate regularly on how she's doing throughout the day. Another writes, I have another student with unstable blood sugars, and as nurses with training, we are there to critically think and make decisions on the next steps to take care of what exactly to look out for. We are also able to educate staff members on signs and symptoms to look for when these kids are in their hands. It would be very hard to operate a school with this many diabetic students and no medical personnel on campus. Thank you for your time.
And last public comment comes from Julie Merrifield Nelson. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so the last public comment is Heather Moss.
My books are getting bigger. Okay. Good evening. I have remained in constant communication with the Peoria Police Department, and our understanding of the situation remains unchanged.
Over the past 2 days, I've conducted a thorough review of the police reports that were delivered on Monday. I identified significant inaccuracies. I was able to take the first 16 pages, apply hard evidence to it, and it is now 42 pages long. I've already turned that over and disclosed it to Peoria PD. Despite this, we remain fully committed to our advocacy, and we expect without reservation Coach Eric Brenton is reinstated. This situation as it stands is completely unacceptable. You've not given us any clear communications on what to expect from here. Our community has demonstrated resilience, integrity, and unity throughout this entire process, yet the very issues undermining the core issues continue to be ignored. Our athletes and our families who deserve the support deserve far more than they're getting right now. Based on numerous conversations with Peoria PD before Thanksgiving, Coach Eric Brenton was never considered a suspect. He was never under investigation. He's never been a person of interest. His statement and interview will be included in the police report solely as a witness, which is consistent with how all the other coaches were interviewed. I don't understand how I have this information and you guys don't. Why are we working harder to resolve this than it feels like we're getting answers from anyone else? Yielding under pressure to the media and placing Coach Eric Brenton on leave was a serious error. Together with Andrea Petrie, we are open to present our perspective to the media, and we plan to move forward with that this week in the support with my personal legal team that I am funding out of my own pocket. We are a close-knit community. We are a well-connected community. We are aware far more than we publicly share, and we are far more prepared than should be assumed. In the interest of transparency and consistent with the respect shown by those in authority, I will ensure this matter is presented truthfully and accurately with regard to how it has been handled by both the school administration and the district. I appreciate the few who have demonstrated genuine leadership and integrity throughout this entire process. We're talking 3 families, 2 of whom wrestled for 4 years and have not stepped forward until August of 2025. You have heard from countless wrestlers. You have received emails. We have filled this boardroom every single board meeting since September. The reason we didn't do it this time was because in November, the media took it upon themselves to interview Justin Fortenberry, who said he was bringing forth legal action. That was 4 weeks ago, and they have still not done it. We are continuing to bend to media pressure, and nobody is making good decisions, except for this steadfast community, and we will continue to remain that.
So as we said, board members are not allowed to respond, but Dr. Summers, if you could please follow up. And then we can respond when our names are called out under public comment specifically. So Mrs. Bowles, Clerk Toby, myself, if you guys would like to respond, now is that opportunity. Ms. Bowles, would you like to respond?
I would. I'm not going to try to defend myself. That would be a waste of time, and I don't want to do that to the people in the room. But I do want to say the reason that I brought up the budget around the table, the only explanation that I can think of is some of us had to work through that in our homes, and let's be real, that's where the money's coming from. The money's not out there floating around that we have money that we need to vote on. It's coming straight from families around the table. And that's why I gave that explanation or example, not to diminish what's happening, but when you don't have money coming in, you have to figure out a way and think outside the box of, regardless if the M&O happened or not, we're still short students, and that's how we get funded. So that is why I brought that up. The other example I would give is a little closer, and that is, I didn't know this till like a couple years ago, but I study some of the Jewish faith, and I found out that the reason they didn't lose sight of their God is because they taught it around their kitchen table. That was so powerful to me. Many things, in fact, when my kids were growing up, even as teenagers, we made them sit at the table and say, okay, how was your day? And oh, nothing, that kind of thing, which I'm sure some of you, I'm preaching the choir, but we got a lot of conversations. And so that is why I use that example. It's not a small thing to me to sit around the table with my family. That's a big thing to me. So with that, I say I originally said, put it on the ballot. Let the voters decide. They decided. Now we move on. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Clerk Toby, would you like to have any response? Okay. I'm just going to state, speaking at the LD28 Republican meeting, I attended the meeting, and we were given, I think, over 10 plus minutes. I don't remember because it was so far back, but it was the first time a superintendent attended a Republican meeting in Legislative District 28. And I stood up there with Dr. Summers and Mrs. Proudfit, and we did a full presentation slideshow. I called him multiple times to prepare for that presentation of what we were discussing to the precinct committeemen at the meeting, and trying to brainstorm with him of how to talk to them, how to get their trust. So yes, I did take time doing that. Did it with Mrs. Proudfit on the stage. I also spoke with Jason Beck a lot on the phone, who is our Peoria mayor. I was at the campaign kickoff that he hosted at Tijuana Tactical, his company. So I was there, Mrs. Bowles was there, Jeff was there, Melissa was there, Becky Proudfit was there. We were all there for that campaign kickoff. Amy Malloy, who was on the PAC, you can call and ask her yourself. I spoke to her many times, actually met her in a parking lot, Target parking lot, to get the little campaign flyers from her. So to say that I didn't do anything, you don't know what I did and didn't do. Because we also have to follow protocol on the board. When we're up here on the dais, there are certain laws that we can't talk about with regards to how to tell the community to vote. We're not allowed to do that when we're on the dais. But I do know Jeff made videos on his own personal time and posted it on social media about the M&O. And so I just, when you hear that you're blaming all of us versus going and seeing why did the community vote the way that they did. That's what I would like to find out. Because there's so many voters in this district. So that would be the question, is why did they vote that way? And figuring out how to change that, how to change that, how to make that change. That's what I'm looking towards. And as far as speaking at the LD meeting, announcing candidacy, I've been attending those LD meetings for almost 4 years. I'm a precinct committeeman, and I give updates at almost every meeting I was giving them. So at the very end of the presentation, after myself, Dr. Summers, Becky Proudfit, Jason Beck, we all spoke, I did announce. And it's because it's a Republican LD. It's the one that I'm in. It's my district. So I wanted to let the people know who I've worked with for almost 4 years of that candidacy. So that's Republican meetings. We're supposed to discuss that and bring that up. So just wanted to state that and share that information. And instead of sitting, I don't know who else has said it, but instead of sitting up here and pointing fingers, I'd rather work with our cabinet at the January 8th board retreat to figure out a game plan. Because we could sit around here all day and point fingers and figure out what happened and who's to blame, versus trying to figure out a game plan moving forward that doesn't affect the kids and our staff at these school site levels the most. So I would hope that instead of pointing fingers and continuing to point fingers, let's work together to try to figure out a plan moving forward that doesn't affect our students in our district. And I will end with that. Moving on now to 8, Board and Superintendent Summary of Current Events. 8.1, Board Summary of Current Events. Mrs. Ewing.
Thank you, President Rooks. So I'm hoping I get this student's name correctly. I believe it was Mrs. Airy, it was your department who recognized this student, and he was at Sunrise Mountain High School, a senior who was recognized for the award of National Heroism Medal for his quick action during a car crash, showcasing extraordinary civic courage and scouting skills. His name is Tommy Souch. So that's from Sunrise Mountain High School senior. So that's pretty exciting that we have a student who has such bravery and quick thinking and just an absolute Peoria pride. I want to just give a big congratulations out to him and his family on that award, just as we're showcasing the greatness of our students. I know that we have, I think everybody in this room understands that we have some big changes and decisions that we are making, not just as a collective five up here, but actually with a lot of input from experts and a lot of community input, and how do we move forward in providing the best type of education for our students given the new budgetary constraints we have, and how do we not only look at where we're going to cut, but how do we also look at places and opportunities for revenues? President Rooks always says, you know, how do we look outside of the box for bringing in new revenue to the district? So those are lots of things we will be making, and I encourage the community to provide input as much as possible, because it does need to be a community decision. And I can commit that I believe the district, and I believe the board as well, wants to be as transparent as possible throughout the whole process. So I just want to say that out there, and I also want to say that, you know, we're out in the community a lot, and we do meet a lot of our retirees that are out there, and we know the 20, 30, 40 years, some 50 years. I think Miss Malloy's, her father, 50 years he's put into this district. And we do know the sacrifices you've made, and we know that you do it because you love the students. And I think that we will be looking at all of these variables as we look forward, and how do we move forward where our decisions are student-centered, where we can still provide the best education possible to our students. So I just want to mention that. So stepping away from that topic, I just want to talk about, I was able to, over Thanksgiving, Ms. Proudfit and I were over at Copperwood handing out pies for the Thanksgiving meals there. And then her and I were together again over at Skyview helping out with the spelling bee. So we just want to say thank you so much to all of the staff who put that together. And then her and I were again at the district, had their holiday lunch. And let me just tell you, our district staff knows how to make food, and a lot of it. But it was an opportunity to say thank you to all of the district staff who support not only our school staff, but also the students, because their efforts are so behind the scenes. And so it was really an opportunity for us to thank them for all of their hard work. And we also got to see Dr. Summers in a really cool apron. But anyway, and then I also was able to, this morning, I was able to be over at Cactus High School and help do mock interviews with the group called The Works. And so what that is it's the transition from school to work orientation and readiness class. It's offered in partnership with a grant with vocational rehab, and this class helps provide vocational rehabilitation services and get students who have barriers to employment be ready for the workforce. So we got to have some potential places that they might work, and the students got to do some mock interviews. And so that was really great. That's the second time I've done that, and they do some great work over there. It's supported by one full-time special education transition teacher, Miss McKenzie, and one full-time occupational therapist, Miss Balmer, and a part-time speech and language pathologist, Miss Hazel Lip, and 5 full-time transition technicians. It's Miss Panita and Mr. Zapita, Miss Oakes and Miss Austin and Miss Young. And it's a full team effort, but it's just another example of the the programs that we provide here at Peoria Unified to help our kids be successful out in the community where we can provide value to those employers. So, and we get, shout out to Charlie at the Lakes, we get a lot of compliments on the students that we send over there and how they just add so much to their staff. So just a big shout out to that group that continues to put forward really great students in the workforce in Peoria. And I'm looking forward to the spelling bee tomorrow morning at Ira Murphy. So thank you.
Mrs. Bowles, any board member comments?
Yes, a couple of them. One, this week, and I wish that our students that were here could hear this, but I'll get this information to the right people if they don't already know this. There is a group, University of Georgia Chancellor Purdue Heights, and most of us don't care about all that, civics education. There is a group going around our nation called History Rocks. I can't wait till they come to Arizona, but U.S. Department of Education initiative aiming to strengthen civic literacy by helping students connect personally with American founding principles ahead of the nation's 250th anniversary. So I wanted to point that out. And again, I hope that we can all make that part of our district when they come here. And then just today, I think, or just this week sometime, the Arizona Republic has an article on the front page that says Arizona State Board of Education approved revising teaching standards and curriculum to remove diversity, equity, and inclusion in compliance with President Trump's executive order. It was on December 8th, the board meeting was. I wanted to point that out. Again, if you're following the news, which if you're a busy parent, you probably are not. But truth is, our board was way ahead of that. We've already covered that. And so I just wanted to point that out, that now in the state, at our state level, they are also complying. And so I'm proud of that. I'm proud that we are leading with excellence, and we're leading first. We're going first. And from what I understand about a forerunner, they get hit the hardest, and I'm okay with that. But I am proud that we are leading the way and can think outside the box. Thanks.
Clerk Toby, do you have any board member comments?
Just hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving and continues to have a good and safe holiday season. Had a chance to work the APS Light Parade, where I had a front row seat to our Ironwood High School marching band. Sent Dr. Summers a video, so I'm not sure if we pushed that out or not, but great job. I mean, it's quite the schlep to go from Central and Bethany all the way to 7th Street and Indian School, especially when you're carrying a heavy instrument. So kudos to Ironwood. You guys represented very well. Also, I just wanted to mention and acknowledge Mr. Molino's retirement on the HR report this evening. Obviously, he's not here, but I was joking with him earlier that I'm not going to approve the HR report if he doesn't show, but congratulations to Mr. Molino on a well-deserved retirement, and I just wanted to say thank him for his service. So if you're watching, Mr. Molino, thank you again, and good luck at your future endeavors.
Yes, I also was going to thank Mr. Molino for his dedication and service to this district, and I know that he had gone through a lot when he was managing Chief Operations Director and Interim Superintendent for almost a year and a half, 2 years. So I just want to say thank you to him and everything that he did for our students and staff and families and community in this district, and I hope that he has a great retirement and enjoys his time with his family. So thank you, Mr. Molino, if you're watching. I also wanted to give a shout out to Centennial Senior Xavier Newman. He had committed to serve at West Point. I saw that posted on Centennial High School Facebook page. So I just wanted to say congratulations to him, and then also thank you for serving our country. I also wanted to mention, I know that we partner a lot with the city of Peoria. The city of Peoria has a day of giving coming up. It is December 20th at 7 a.m. It'll be at the Peoria Sports Complex. I know that they were posting that they needed volunteers, and you can come out and support the children, donations for toys and things and food for the upcoming holiday. So I just wanted to give that shout out and thank our city for that partnership. And then also wanted to give a shout out to, I pulled it up here, I saw it. Liberty High School wrestling program had their Liberty Classic in 2025, about 3 days ago. Their varsity men's team cleaned house this weekend with a stellar performance. This powerhouse team went undefeated in 7 duels as a team, had 6 individual champions, congratulations champions, and 2 individual outstanding wrestler awards, congratulations, 6 individual placers, and came out as the back-to-back team champions. So I just want to say congratulations to our wrestling team, the players, all of the families that attended, and our coaching staff, and that includes all of our coaching staff. And I'm just going to end with, I hope everybody has a great New Year and a good Christmas coming up and a break. And Clerk Toby, Hanukkah, I hope you have a great Hanukkah. So to our families, we look forward to seeing you in the new year, and we will be here to figure everything out in our new year. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Summers, 8.2, Superintendent Summary of Current Events.
Thank you, President Ricks, governing board members, cabinet community, and all of our guests. So in the spirit of continuing to acknowledge and elevate awesome things happening, I want to congratulate Centennial High School senior Hannah Taylor, who's received a National Student Production Award in Animation, Graphics, Special Effects from the foundation of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, the organization known for their Emmy Awards. So big congratulations to you, Hannah. As our fall semester comes to a close, it's the time of year where many of our students get out in the community to give back. So Mrs. Rooks, thank you for calling out the Day of Giving. That will be right around the corner, in addition to all of so many other types of service opportunities, Angel Trees, Adopt a Family, student cleanup efforts, and so forth, and some upcoming student performances as well. So we want to say thank you to all of our students and our staff for your continuous involvement into the community, for your continued partnership. Along those same lines, do want to remind everyone about some upcoming community events. The City of Peoria Holiday Festival is this Saturday, December 13th from 5 to 9 p.m. This event will feature live music from Cactus, Centennial, Ironwood, Peoria, Raymond S. Kellis, and Sunrise Mountain High School choirs. And the City of Glendale Hometown Christmas Parade is also this Saturday, December 13th at 11 a.m. and will feature performances from Ironwood, Peoria, Sunrise Mountain, and Liberty High Schools. Both events are great for all to attend. Also want to acknowledge one of our most recent recipients for the newly named Summer Spotlights. So we are receiving active nominations from so many of our parents in the community. In this particular case, we are lifting up Miss Diana Birdsey, medical assisting teacher at Liberty High School, nominated by a Liberty High School parent. Miss Birdsey goes above and beyond for her students by spending countless hours securing clinical placements and setting high expectations. She treats students like future professionals, preparing them for college and careers. We want to thank Ms. Birdsey for your commitment to our students, and we are looking forward to sharing so many more additional summer spotlights that we recently recorded in the coming weeks. So stay tuned on social media. And for families, if you're interested in sending those nominations in, please check Parent Square for the link to nominate a well-deserved staff member on your child's campus. Also do want to call out, thank you for the acknowledgments. Again, so many great events, and from a athletic perspective, we did have Centennial High School participate in the state championship 6A conference this past weekend. Unfortunately, fell just short of the championship, but they represented their school themselves, and all the great effort that was going into that extremely well. So big shout out to the Coyotes. Finally, on Saturday, December 20th, the Purposeful Giving Alliance is hosting its annual, again, Day of Giving for families in need across Peoria Unified, taking place at the Peoria Sports Complex. This event offers holiday gifts, warm meals, clothing, and essential resources. And again, please check Parent Square for additional information. And if we don't see you before the holidays, we wish everybody a fantastic break, and we will see you all back in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Summers. Moving on to 9 action items. 9.1, consideration of revision number 1 to the maintenance and operations, district additional assistance, and classroom site fund budgets for fiscal year 2025-2026. And maybe just a few minutes if anybody else. Thank you for all coming. All right, Mrs. Rodriguez, sorry, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening again, President Rooks, Clerk Toby, members of the board, and our superintendent and audience. So as I shared with you at the public hearing, we are here this evening asking you to approve a revised budget for the month of December. And as we go through the just the big highlights of the budget, just adjusting the numbers as they were adopted, knowing that we have additional information since the state legislature approved a budget after that date. And we will be coming back to you in May, again, to do an end of the year revision and doing the adjustments. And some of those adjustments may include, we hope that ADM may increase between now and the end of the year. And then also we'll have a better idea of what our carry forward's going to look like at that time in May. So this evening I'm asking that you approve the M&O Maintenance and Operation District Additional Assistance Classroom Site Fund budgets as presented for the FY26 school year.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. We do have one public comment tied to this line item, so I will call them up first, and then we'll go to board member question and comments. So you will have 3 minutes. Is it Curtis Allard?
I already had a chance, so I'll yield that time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. That was the only public comment. So Mrs. Ewing, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't, thank you. You answered them before, so thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Bowles, any questions or comments?
Just more often seeing the budget, and we'll work on that, but other than that, no.
Clerk Toby, any questions or comments?
None for me, thank you.
I don't have any either, but thank you, Ms. Rodriguez, for bringing this forward. So I just need a motion on the floor.
I will motion to approve revision number 1 to the Maintenance and Operations District Additional Assistance and Classroom Site Fund budgets for fiscal year 2025-26 as presented.
I'll second.
So we have a motion made by Mrs. Ewing and a second made by Clerk Toby. And Azure, if you could run us through a voice vote, please.
Mrs. Ewing,
Yes.
Mr. Toby,
Yes.
Ms. Bowles,
Yes.
President Rooks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 yeas. Moving on to 9.2, consideration of action regarding personnel matters, possible adoption of statement of charges and issuance of notice of intention to dismiss Peoria Unified School District employee, Mr. David Richer, pursuant to ARS 15-539. The administration is proposing that the governing board adopt the presented statement of charges against Mr. David Richer. The document contains charges and details the facts supporting those charges. I would like to confirm with each board member that they have in fact read the statement of charges. Mrs. Ewing?
Yes.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Clerk Toby?
Yes.
And I have as well. The administration is asking the governing board to determine that the charges against Mr. David Richer, which, if true, are cause for his dismissal. We do not determine whether the allegations contained in the statement of charges are true or false today and cannot delve into the details of the case. Rather, we only decide today whether the district would have sufficient cause to dismiss Mr. David Richer if the allegations are true. The administration is further asking the governing board to provide Mr. David Richer with the notice of its intent to terminate him if the governing board makes the determination that the alleged conduct is cause for dismissal. District council will provide Mr. David Richer with notice on behalf of the governing board. If we vote to approve the notice of intent to terminate Mr. David Richer, we will have 10 calendar days from the date he is served with the notice in which to request a hearing. If he does not request a hearing, he is terminated automatically at the expiration of 10 calendar days. Mr. David Richer is not given opportunity to address the charges at this time, but can address the charges at a hearing if requested. Mr. David Richer was provided with notice of today's meeting. Does any board member want to make a motion as to whether or not the allegations presented in the statement of charges presented by the administration cause for dismissal of Mr. David Richer.
President Ricks, if I may.
Yes.
I motion that the governing board adopt the administration's written statement of charges seeking David J. Richer dismissal and the notice of the statement of charges be sent to David J. Richer in a manner consistent with Arizona law. I further move that David J. Richer employment terminate after service of the notice of statement of charges unless he timely requests a hearing.
I will second.
So we have a motion made, Azure, by Mrs. Bowles and a second made by Clerk Toby. And we'll give you a few minutes to draft up that motion.
I am ready if you would like me to run you through a voice vote.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Mrs. Ewing?
Yes.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
President Rooks?
Yes.
Mr. Toby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 yeas. Moving on to 9.3, approval of revised classified starting pay scale to reflect new AZ minimum wage. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Rooks, members of the governing board. Tonight, I'm bringing forward adjustments to our salary schedules that reflect the new minimum wage in Arizona that will go into effect on January 1st. As mentioned in the item itself, that we have 41 employees that would be impacted by this. It is primarily student workers, so when we did the cost impact of that, it is fairly minimal to the district, about $3,800 a year, just because of the limited number of hours they work. The secondary group that would be impacted would be our auxiliary staff. That has a little bit larger impact, and we're estimating that will cost about $16,000 for the year, for a total of almost $20,000 for this particular item.
Thank you. We do not have any public comment tied to this line item. So Mrs. Ewing, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't, thank you.
Mrs. Bowles, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not.
Clerk Toby, do you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
I do not have any either, but thank you for the presentation. So I just need a motion on the floor.
I motion to approve the adoption of the revised classified starting pay schedule and the hourly schedule assignment scheduled effective January 1st, 2026, both of which reflects the increase to Arizona minimum wage to $15.15 an hour.
I'll second.
So I have a motion made by Clerk Toby and a second made by Mrs. Bowles. And Azure, if you could run us through a voice vote, please.
Mr. Toby?
Yes.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewing?
Yes.
President Rooks?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 yeas. Thank you, Ms. Talia.
Thank you.
Moving on to 9.4, consideration of first and only read of revision to procedure 4-110.A, professional development salary credit guidelines. Welcome back again.
Thank you. Good evening. This item was to reflect the fact that as we've talked many times before, then when we brought over our policy manual from the ASBA to the trust manual, there were items that we knew we would need to bring back, and this is one of those items. So the policy 4-110 addresses both classified and certified professional growth. I've tried to be careful about using growth as opposed to development, because professional development usually refers to training and development, whereas professional growth usually refers to movement on the salary schedule.
Ms. Talia, I'm sorry, Ms. Vicentainer, could we pull it up? Because I know some audience members were trying to look to see, so just so that they have the language. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. So at the top, so essentially the changes that you see on here that are captured in red are the items that we just want to try to add some additional clarification. It doesn't add anything new to our practice in the past and how we've always operated with these particular guidelines. But this just helps us capture it so that way we're not prohibited from moving forward with any professional growth for our classified employees. So the information that's in there, as you scroll down, you'll see the majority of the information that's in red really is around, like I said, adding the information and the process for our classified and support staff. And so I stand for any questions any feedback on the policy.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any public comment to this line item. Mrs. Ewing, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't really have any questions, but just again, clarification. This isn't a change to any of our current practices or procedures or how we do things, but it's simply an update and a revision and to more accurately reflect what we are doing since we've changed over to new policy services, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that community understands that. So thank you so much for bringing this forward, and thank you for being so detailed throughout this. So thank you.
Mrs. Bowles, do you have any questions or comments?
I have a couple questions. Are some of these trainings going through ADE website? Are they just specific to our district or even the position? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so what's eligible for credit is not typically professional development that happens within the district. Typically, professional development that happens through the district is just is on the clock and paid. The professional growth credit is usually given to any trainings from outside the district that meet the criteria within the policy. So it might include trainings from ADE as long as they're not doing it on the clock or getting other credit for in other ways.
I am very encouraged to see this. I will tell you that they didn't have this when I was in the district. And that that's very, they're the closest to our students and the most forgotten. So I appreciate this, and I'm excited about seeing this as part of their award. An hourly increase is included in that, is what I'm seeing in the policy, correct? 5 cents after per credit, I guess, per hour. That's what I'm reading?
I'm sorry, President Rooks, Mrs. Bowles, under credits, and I don't have page numbers on this. It's if you can scroll down a little bit more to section C, there is after 15. Thank you, right there, number 3. After a semester hours credit, we translate to 15 credit hours, and then the 15 credit hours then can be moved over to a 5-cent increase.
Okay, thank you.
Clerk Toby, do you have any questions or comments?
None for me, thank you.
I don't have any either, but thank you again for the presentation. So with that, I just need a motion on the floor.
A motion to approve the revisions to procedure 4-11A, professional development salary credit guidelines as presented.
I'll second.
So a motion made by Clerk Toby and a second made by Mrs. Bowles. And Azure, if you could run us through a voice vote, please.
President Rooks?
Yes.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewing?
Yes.
Mr. Toby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes 4 yeas. Thank you, Mrs. Vicentainer. Moving on to 9.5, consideration of first and only read of revision to procedure 5-305.A, Student Code of Conduct, restrictions on use of wireless communication devices. Dr. Hernandez, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Rooks, members of the board, Dr. Summers, cabinet, and guests. This evening, we are bringing forward policy 5-305-A, Student Code of Conduct, restrictions on use of wireless communication devices for a first and only read for the purpose of ensuring clarity by adding pre-K to the K-8 specific section of this policy. This is the only change being brought forward for consideration of approval, and we wanted to have this clarity in place beginning the next semester. So at the conclusion of the board's discussion and approval on this policy on July 9th of 2025, the board requested a policy follow-up in January of 2026. As we needed to come before you now for pre-K, President Rooks, if you'd be amenable, I'd be willing to provide a brief update on policy implementation thus far.
I would have very greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Fantastic. As required by policy in section 2 for grades 9 through 12, which is high school, students may use wireless communication devices during instructional time when permitted by their teachers who have received administrative, district, and parent permission. Of the 37 requests that received at the district level, 27 have been approved to seek parent permission. These approvals included such activities designed to document artifacts from learning activities, such as photos or art, laboratory work, and even some crime scene simulations, to name a couple examples. Other courses included opportunities to support portfolio development and mandated 2-factor multi authentication for students who are enrolled in college dual enrollment classes. So in all cases, the threshold for using a wireless device outside of the district's approved laptop to complete coursework were rigorously applied and met. And finally, parent feedback has been overwhelmingly positive and supportive throughout the first semester of our policy implementation. And back to where we began for tonight, this first and only read of Policy 5-305.A includes asking the board to consider adding pre-K to the K-8 section of the policy as seen on page 2 of the policy that we have pulled up for your consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. We don't have any public comment to this line item. Mrs. Ewing, do you have any questions or comments?
Just thank you so much to you and to your team for putting this all together. And I also want to thank all of our administrators who are about to embark on making sure that this is applied as we've worked through it. And this is a great example of how we as the district can work collaboratively with our parents on making sure that our students are focused on academics when they're in the classroom. So it is a hard ask on some of our students to peel their eyes away from their phones, but it's really important, and we know that when they are focused on learning the things that they can do, our students are amazing and our staff is pretty amazing. So I really appreciate the collaborative effort on this with our community students and parents and all of our district staff. And then I know the other piece of it is technology is always evolving, and that I'm sure that we will be looking at new changes coming forward with new technologies and how do we ensure that the students are not distracted in the classroom and are learning. So I just appreciate and look forward to more updates from you and from the community. So thank you.
Mrs. Bowles, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not. I do not, thank you.
Okay. Clerk Toby, do you have any questions or comments?
Just a question, as far as application, have we run into any issues with like something like smart glasses and things of that nature? And do we need to look at modifying our definition of what we consider wireless technology?
President Rooks, Mr. Toby, yes, we have. And the smart glasses is the newest thing we are working through. We have an incredible group of leaders who have come together to form, working on our standard operating practices that we utilize for implementing the policy. And we have been in contact with ADE and ACT through the lens of assessing, and as well as considering our own privacy policy with the capabilities of those glasses. We are applying, because they are prescription lenses, so we've got the medical piece of the cell phone policy, as well as the privacy components and the assessing pieces and whatnot. But from the state agency and ACT, it is a no. And so we are working with families on an individual basis from that perspective of the prescription lens. And then I would say that the policy that you all built is incredibly durable as technology comes along. So the group of administrators have come together and they look through the lens of what's written in policy now, and this fits in under that piece. So we just need the operating practices and how we support leaders when they're working with families in that space. These are prescription lenses that they need to be able to see, and so how are we going to, come spring, support them to be able to do well on their assessment, but also ensure that the tests stay valid and reliable with the parameters those groups have put around the assessments.
Thank you for that, and appreciate the follow-up, reference the update. I mean, it's our oversight in that pre-K students would be bringing cellular devices to schools, but we will now cover that. Thank you.
Yes, I was pretty surprised when you shared that information of pre-K. I just have, I don't know if this is like requests to kind of just keep an eye on surrounding. I've just had a couple of questions coming from parents regarding the permitted uses when it comes to medical needs or disability. It does state here that the student is required to obtain advanced approval prior to use outside of the restrictions established. So just seeing what that process looks like for our students with 504 and Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, because I just want to make sure that we are following all of those laws as well. I've just had some feedback kind of in those areas. So if we can keep an eye on that the rest of the school year, I would greatly appreciate it to make sure that we're ensuring that those needs are being met.
Certainly.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. All right, with that, I just need a motion on the floor.
A motion to approve the recommended changes to Procedure 5-305A, Student Code of Conduct, restrictions on use of wireless communication devices as presented.
I'll second.
So we have a motion made by Clerk Toby and a second made by Mrs. Bowles. And if you could run us through a voice vote, please, Azure.
President Rooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewing,
Yes.
Ms. Bowles,
Yes.
Mr. Toby.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 yeas. Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. Moving on to 9.6, approval to add new cooperative contract. Is it Omnia? Sorry, RFP 25-05 Learning Management System for fiscal year 2026. Ms. Rodriguez, hopefully I got that correct.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, President Rooks, Clerk Toby, board members, superintendent, and our audience. So as we have discussed before, there are co-ops that the district uses where other organizations have gone out and done all of the legwork for us, done the bid process for us. This is one of those cases again. And what we find is that some of the co-ops that are written, some of the agreements that are written, they will end mid-year. And so we'll be bringing these back to you. So this, currently, this learning management system that we use, Canvas, was on a SAVE RFP that is no longer active, effective March 10th. Well, this is a very vital component to what we do here, right? The learning management system. So we want to make sure we have that approved so that there's no disruption in our service. So we're bringing to you our procurement department went out and found an active agreement that we could use to procure these particular types of services. And so we're asking you to approve the RFP under the Omnia co-op this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. We have no public comment tied to this line item. Mrs. Ewing, do you have any questions or comments?
So it's cost-wise, I understand you that one contract ended, and so we're joining the new one, but cost-wise, that doesn't change, correct?
That is correct. Yes, is a comparable cost to what we are currently paying.
Okay, and so this is just a question on going forward. I know that you're doing an amazing job of bringing forward all of these cooperatives that we can be involved in to you and your team. Thank you. That where we can make sure that we're being as fiscally responsible as possible with our contracts. And I'm just curious if there is any way that, especially as we are looking at how can we bring down costs moving forward, is there any way to get a report or see how much we're saving by being involved in these types of cooperatives? And I say that because I think it's important to the community to see all of the different things that we are doing to try to keep our costs down. One of the things before I became a board member that I would frequently hear is that, and I don't believe that this is quite accurate, is that the costs that we, in our contracts, are much higher than what a company who didn't have to, there wasn't a public company who didn't have to go through all of these hoops could get. And so I used to always hear the argument that we pay too much for lots of different things. That was just the general. They couldn't really ever provide evidence, but I think it's important for our community to see that we are going after these cooperatives because it does save us money. And if there's any way we can see at some point in time the amount that it is saving us, I think that is just another way to be transparent to our community about our fiscal responsibility. And I don't know if that's possible with everything that's shifting, and I'm not asking for that right away, but just maybe as we look towards all of the other items in January.
Yes, President Rooks, Member Ewing, yes, we are always looking for the best pricing, and that is the work that our procurement department does for us is there will be maybe multiple different types of co-ops that we could use, but they're always picking the one that has the best price that meets the district's needs. So as we are doing this and as we're going through these contracts, I think that that's good exercise for us to practice that and document. Could have been, this is how much we saved. So we will start working on doing that documentation and providing information to the board and our community on that.
Great, thank you. I know that we have a stellar department and stellar staff members who do that. So I want you to know it's not because I'm questioning your ability to do that. I just really want to be as transparent to our community as possible about all of the ways that we are working very hard to be as fiscally responsible as possible. So thank you.
Ms. Ewing, I believe Dr. Hernandez is over there itching. She might be able to, she just might be able to further answer more of your questions. Dr. Hernandez.
Thank you, President Rooks. Mrs. Ewing, I draw your attention to the document on the screen. I'd like to surface that as a cost-saving measure. The department is prepared to transition between platforms that we have right now. Continuing with Canvas allows us to bring on a product called Mastery Connect, which includes a set of resources that would replace a current product that we're using that is named in that document right now. And with that is a significant cost savings to us to make that transition. So our department will begin making the transition in the spring in order to be able to have that in place for our schools and our teachers in the fall.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. Bowles, do you have any questions and comments?
I do, a couple questions. So this is Omnia Cooperative. That's the name of the vendor?
That is the name of, I'm sorry, President Rooks, Member Bowles, that is the name of the co-op that puts multiple different types of bids and products together. Much like you'll hear Mojave, you'll hear One GPA, it's that type of an organization.
So the vendor is actually in structure, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I had that clear. And then they will be a platform that teachers and administration, and I think students, I think I read that, online textbook materials, online assessments, homework, designed educational institutions and platforms that allows teachers to build courses, manage materials, create assignments, track grades, and facilitate decisions, correct?
Discussions, yes.
Oh, so sorry. The only reason I read that out loud is the obvious, and that is just making sure that they're not a platform, that we've covered the DEI stuff. And I figured that was the answer. I really, and for those of you who can't see, Dr. Hernandez, she's raising her hands, shaking her head yes, because I just want to make sure that we're being physically responsible for that part as well, and just, making sure that we're not going to lose if we, take on co-op. So my next question is, how many, go ahead.
Let Dr. Hernandez answer, and then I'll come back to you, Mrs. Bowles.
President Rooks, Mrs. Bowles, let me just clarify that Instructure's product called Canvas is a shell. We put the curriculum, we put the resources, our teachers build the assessments as a distribute so the students can access them, so the parents can see them from home. It is just the shell and the holder. So our teachers access our board-adopted, district-approved curriculum through Canvas. So
cool.
There is nothing in there that we have not already approved.
Excellent, thank you for that explanation. One more question. When we put the bid out, did we have other vendors that, obviously I know we go about with the least expensive, which sometimes good and sometimes bad, but were there others that competitive with them? I'm just curious. Was there more than one vendor that we had in the mix?
Well, thank you, President Rooks. Member Bowles, this is the co-op. They did all of the work for us. They went out and they bid the vendor. So this isn't on RFP where we choose the vendor. What we do in these instances is we have a product that we're currently using that we want to continue to use that meets the district's needs. Has someone else gone out and done the legwork? And that's when we found that Omni Cooperative has already done the legwork for us.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Clerk Toby, do you have any questions or comments?
I think Dr. Hernandez addressed my questions as far as are we producing new content on this platform? The answer is no. And then do we have an estimate on how much of a cost savings that when we phase out SchoolNet and bring on this new platform, what that would entail?
Just wanted to be sure, President Rooks, Mr. Tobey, about $50,000.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you for the question, too. And thank you, Dr. Hernandez, for the follow-up questions, and Mrs. Rodriguez, thank you as well for the follow-up questions and answers. I don't have any. I'm just really excited to see that your team is looking to, doing an amazing job, looking to look at what we can, cost savings and brainstorming, and I appreciate the work that you guys are doing for that. So thank you. With that, we just need a motion on the floor.
A motion to approve the additional cooperative contract Omnia RFP 2505 Learning Management System.
And I'll second.
Azure, we have a motion made by Clerk Tobey and a second made by Mrs. Bowles. And if you could run us through a voice vote. And I just want to clarify, Ms. Rodriguez, do we need to state on the motion for fiscal year 2026? Because I don't believe that was stated in the original motion, so I just want to clarify.
Yes, please, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to motion to revise the original motion to approve the addition of the cooperative contract Amani RFP 25-05 Learning and Management System for fiscal year 2026.
And I'll second.
So we have the revision made, Azure made by myself and seconded by Mrs. Bowles. And if you could run us through a voice vote, please.
Mrs. Ewing,
Yes.
President Rooks,
Yes.
Mr. Tobey,
Yes.
Ms. Bowles.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez, with 4 yeas. Moving on now to 10 discussion items. 10.1, consideration of first read of revision to Policy 5-203, Students with Disabilities, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. Dr. Hernandez, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Rooks, members of the board, Dr. Summers, cabinet, and guests. This evening's first read of Policy 5-203, Students with Disabilities, reflects changes from law as well as our State Board of Education's revisions. The recommended changes herein are put forward by the trust. So our district is in full compliance with all changes despite bringing this policy now. We've had hoped to attach this policy to the special education presentation that the board had requested, but with January agendas filling rapidly, it made more sense to bring it for a first read this evening and then a second read at our next meeting. So this policy and these updates ensure transparency are given to a number of the updates, and so I will take you through each of these red lines, and we'll go a little bit more slowly because there's kind of a lot going on. So while this policy is 28 pages long, the page numbers that we're going to use don't align. So when we come back with our second read, we'll have the actual page numbers that will be on there. So I'll refer to the page numbers that you'll see on the attachment, but just know that they'll look a little different for the second read. All right, so we're going to start on what's called page 37 in the document. So the first red lines are the numbered evaluation procedures here. So with requirements in number 1, our website has been updated and it is available on our public-facing site. Specific to number 2, if a parent or legal guardian requests an evaluation, the district will, within 15 school days, either begin the evaluation by reviewing existing data or provide a prior written notice refusing to conduct the evaluation. The 60-day evaluation period commences on receipt of the signed informed consent. The updated policy now includes this 15-day requirement for the district to respond when parents request that evaluation. This timeline has been a part of state expectations, but it wasn't explicitly stated in our previous policy. The update also clearly notes the 60-day evaluation timeline begins and once we receive that signed informed consent, which aligns with IDEA. These timelines are not new, but they are being written into policy to be transparent. In the third, which is at the top of the next page, the specific red line component here is the consent evaluation and prior written notice piece. This clarification part clarifies that the prior written notice and consent for evaluation can be provided simultaneously following the review of existing data. This can occur when all parties agree and the family does not feel the need to review additional information before testing begins. This is not a change in practice, it's just being formally communicated within our policy. So we're going to jump to page 40. On page 40 here, we see some of the trust language where it's just bringing that clarification with the words they've chosen and the order they've put them in. We're going to go to page 42. Our red lines here focus on if a student's found eligible as a student with a disability due to a specific learning disability. The student's IEP shall indicate whether the student has been diagnosed with dyslexia. This is the Arizona Department of Ed and the State Board of Education, along with updated state law that requires public schools in Arizona to note in a student's IEP whether that student has been diagnosed with dyslexia if that student is eligible under a specific learning disability category. We'll go to the bottom of page 42. This section is a little more wordsmithing by the trust. Top of page 44 and bottom of page 44 are similar. Just little words here and there. And then on pages 46 through 47, we see the reordering of the letters from the added information. So we'll get to the middle of page 48. The two red lines here there we go, address federal law, which requires IEP teams to document not only what services and decisions are being made, but also why those decisions are educationally necessary. This is really important from, again, that transparency lens. So we'll go to the bottom of page 51. This is specific to the red lines within the 10 school days. This is specifying a timeline per policy, which provides clarity for both staff and families. So we'll go to the top of page 53. There we go. So again, we have an updated timeline here that aligns with state expectations to give both families and schools a workable time frame while still allowing meetings to occur sooner when mutually agreed upon. So that's reference to the 45 days, just some clarity piece there. And then the middle of page 53, this is where we see the trust recommending that we move a significant body of language specific to private placement by the district to a different section. So it's being redlined here, but we'll see it come added back in as we continue to move through. We'll go over to the top of 55. And here's where we see that body of language being put over on this portion here. And in the middle of page 54, there we go. This is that other piece of language that was moved from that section over into this section. So it moved back under private placements by the district. So that was quite a bit of moving around, but wanted to be clear on the timing of the policy while we're bringing it. And those red lines, they come from law and they come from adjustments from the State Board of Education, as well as being confident that we do have all of these pieces in place. The team has been aware and these have been in place. We are in compliance, but we wanted to bring the first read tonight so that when we have our special education presentation on January 8th, then we'll have this policy for a second read later in the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. We don't have any public comment on this line item. Mrs. Ewing, do you have any questions or comments?
I think most of my questions will come when you have the larger special education presentation. This is just a general statement. This is probably the first year in a long time that the U.S. Department of Education is looking at a new restructuring of how things will happen. And so I just want to make sure that, and I know that we'll be leaning heavily on the trust for this as we look at our policies, really making sure that that references to U.S. Department of Education, if management of IDEA shifts underneath another organization, that we are able to certainly let our community know that the services provided to our special needs students and the students who have dyslexia, that those continue, but that we are always looking for ways to make sure that our policies reflect whatever changes come to the U.S. Department of Education and so forth. So that's just a broader thing. And then I'm just really happy with law that they're making real efforts to try to make sure that students who do have dyslexia have access to the interventions that they need to be successful across and that we're definitely making the commitment that we will ensure that all of our students have everything they need to be able to learn. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate how you and your department are continuing to make sure that not only is the language accurate within the law, but that everything that we're doing is consistent with our policies as well, and that you're keeping our staff informed of any changes that are happening. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mrs. Bowles, do you have any questions or comments?
I do. I have a couple questions. On page 38, in the red area, the red line, you had said something about parent. So the consent for evaluation and prior written notice to be simultaneously provided to the parent or guardian following the determination that additional data are needed as part of the review. I understand that part, but you had said something and I didn't catch it about the parent something. I want to say that if they agreed to that, or you said something along those lines.
So that both can happen simultaneously and the parties agree, then the family doesn't feel the need to review additional data before testing begins. This is not a change in practice, but just formally being communicated via policy.
And so do we have a form, or is that captured in the prior written notice or the can't remember the word right now. The consent, I guess, it's the prior written notice. It is captured on there that if the parent says they're not, okay, because I know that can get really tricky at times when they're simultaneous.
Yes, they are captured on there.
And then the other, I don't remember, oh, here it is. Shoot, give me just a second. I lost my page. On page 51, the within 10 school days, do we have a form, or is that just something that, again, prior written notice, a form that of requesting, not prior written notice, I don't even know why I said that, a request for records form that we use, and what I'm trying to get to is the timeline. Does that go when it goes out, when it's faxed out? I know that this is probably talking about us receiving. I don't know who we're looking at. Oh, thank you.
So that would be our response, saying that we have received those public records requests.
So then the clock starts then?
Right.
Okay.
So we have to respond within 10 days that we received that records request, and then we have our timeline of when we provide those records.
And then is that something that is specific to our district, or is that something that's always been there, law?
I believe it's always been there. The 10 days is the update, but that has been the practice.
Okay.
The 10 days has just been updated in the policy.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you for coming up and answering. We appreciate it. Clerk Toby, do you have any questions or comments?
Not for me at this time. Thank you.
I don't have any either, but thank you again for coming up and helping Dr. Hernandez. I'm glad your team is always here to help answer any of our questions, so thank you. I appreciate it. All right, since that was just a discussion item, we will move now to 11, address the consent agenda. 11.1, consider approval of or recommend changes to the consent agenda. Board members, do you have any recommended changes?
I don't.
With that, I just need a motion on the floor.
I will move to approve, or I will motion to approve the consent agenda as identified.
I will second. So we have a motion made by Mrs. Ewing and a second made by myself. And if you could run us through a vote, please, Azure.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Toby?
Yes.
President Rooks?
Yes.
President Rooks, Mrs. Ewing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Asher. Motion passes with 4 yeas. Moving on to 14, closing call to the public. 14.1, request to address the governing board regarding matters not included on the agenda. Azure, we don't have any more turned in. So we will move on to 15, informational reports. 15.1, report on upcoming meetings and events. Mrs. Airy.
President Rooks, members of the board, nothing to add to this evening's report. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 15.2, legislative, state, and local updates. Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you, President Rooks. No, nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. Moving on to 15.3, report on requested future agenda items is available on the website. 16, other business. 16.1, request for agenda items for future governing board meetings. Mrs. Ewing.
Two things. I want to say thank you to the board for approving the Project Adam, and I hope that that's 12.9 on the consent agenda, our MOU with Phoenix Children's Hospital. And Ms. Airy, I hope that we have an opportunity to let our community know what Project Adam is, and if we'll have some sort of ceremony around that, but I'm really excited to bring that forward and to have our schools designated as such, as heart-safe schools. So I'm really excited about that.
Are you wanting like a request for that information to be shared through Ms. Airy's office?
If she wasn't already planning on it, then I would request, but if she's nodding her head that yes, that's already planned, then I don't need to have a second.
Just to make
Okay,
it official.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you. And I didn't have an opportunity to thank Mr. Molino for all of his services that he provided to us, so I just want to say that. And I know we have a big meeting coming up in January, so I'm not going to add any additional requests. I've already sent several requests over for that 18th when I'll be talking to Dr. Summers, so I don't have anything else at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Bowles, do you have any future requests?
I'm not sure. No, I do not.
Okay. Clerk Toby, do you have any future requests?
I'd like to, just a Friday report, an outline or bullet point list of training and work procedures, even practices that we have here when a site leader or somebody at the district receives a complaint as far as that investigative process, and the role that HR does play into that at the sites.
And I'll second.
And that's all I have right now.
Okay. I do have a couple I was writing down real quick. If Ms. Airy, this is for you. So Ms. Ewing mentioned our January 8th board retreat. If we could have an email sent out to staff, parents in the community about that board retreat and the discussion items when we create that agenda, if you could share that with them, so then that way we can update the public on that item.
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's see. If we could just have an update in a Friday report, Dr. Summers, on how the district is ensuring safety protocols when it comes to our Liberty Wrestling program with everything that's surrounding in the media, just making sure that our staff and students are taken care of through the wrestling events.
I'll second.
Thank you. Just if this can be for the board retreat, an outline of the organizational chart for our DAC employees, looking at that as well.
I'll second.
Let's see. Also, the board retreat, if we could possibly have a presentation added on the M&O election of what the voting turnout data numbers were, so that way we can share that with the board and the community as well.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Let's see. Requesting a future study session. I don't know if we can do this in the end of January, before February, with inviting our Peoria PD SRO leaders to present for the SRO program, just a presentation to the board on how it's been going and the data that they've collected. If we could have that at some point before end of January, beginning of February.
I'll second that.
Oh, okay, thank you. And then just an update, Friday report is fine on the process where it's at. I have received an inquiry for the committee with the behavior tracking system. Somebody reached out just to see where we're at. They wanted to be a part of that committee. So if Dr. Hernandez or Dr. Summers could just provide an update to the governing board on that process.
And I'll second.
Thank you. And I think yes, that is all. So with that.
President Ricks, if I may.
Yes.
Not sure if I have to make a motion to do this. I don't know if I do because you've already addressed it, but the parent.
You mean
that
a
was-
request? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
The parent that was in here about the bullying issue, can you report back to the board once you've reached out to them? I think President Rooks addressed Dr. Summers to reach out to the parent. Yes. Cool, that's all I need.
I will second. Okay. And then moving on to 17, adjournment, 17.1. I just need a motion to adjourn.
I will motion to adjourn.
And I'll second.
So the motion made by Mrs. Ewing and a second made by Mrs. Bowles. Azure, if you could run us through a voice vote, please.
President Rooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewing?
Yes.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Toby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 yeas. Meeting adjourned at 8:25 p.m.